Oop, denial. What happened? What happened, amigo? After do all this government stuff. Um, Good morning. How are you? Hello, hello, hello. Hey, wakey, wakey, hello, snaggy, wakey, wakey. I'm gonna tell you something. It was election day yesterday, and today I'm going through the notes. Things election Australia or something. I don't know how. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6. This one, and then you go like this or something.
News in Australia, suing the government involves navigating a complex web of laws and regulations, with some protections in place to shield government entities from lawsuits. Suing the government can involve administrative law challenging government decisions, tort law claiming negligence, and constitutional law challenging the validity of legislation. Additionally, class actions and alternative dispute resolution (ADR) are common avenues for resolving disputes with government entities. Google search. By M. Aronson. Cited by 5069 authority to be negligent can never be implied by tests of unavoidability or inevitability. Because negligence is by definition avoidable and therefore not. 39 pages. 264 kilobyte. We were engaged midway through a 7-year investigation after the US government had contended that the contractor was negligent and had committed violations. By S. Anderson. Cited by 6. Includes the law of negligence. When suing a large enterprise, the claimant, Government Railways, Mr. Dawson sued Her Majesty for their negligent management. 11.149 ampere defense of contributory negligence.
It's only gonna have magistrate regulation, defense. It's gonna have like a police officer or government or something, whatever, something like that. Good media, maybe Facebook, Google, YouTube. You know what I mean, like that.
Negligence is not appropriate for the new tort. Contributory negligence now acts as a partial defense only to claims. 34 pages. 309 kilobyte. This case is not a roadblock to future climate litigation in other areas such as negligence claims against major GHG emitters, like Eagle Energy. This case is missing litigation notes number 4 eggs. Number 4. 28th October 1999. Liability of statutory bodies. This case carries a firm warning to statutory bodies that any provision Home eggs. Australian Government Solicitor serving the public interest. Australian Government Solicitor trusted advisor to government. Australian Government Solicitor serving the public interest. Australian Government Solicitor trusted advisor to government. Careers. Recruit skilled applicants, such as experienced lawyers, recent law graduates, paralegals, legal secretaries and legal assistants, and support professionals. We acknowledge Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples as custodians of Australia and pay our respects to elders, past and present. We also acknowledge the ongoing connection to land, sea and communities throughout Australia, and the contributions to the lives of all Australians. Government and Regulatory Litigation Quinn Emanuel Urquhart and Sullivan, LLP. The government can be the most formidable litigation adversary of all, often playing by different rules. Yet our firm has a proven track record of not only fighting back but actually beating the government in court. We take special pride in being a leader in government and regulatory litigation in the United States. No lawyers bring more firepower, expertise, or courtroom skills than we do to litigating against the government. We have consistently won cases involving federal or knowledge.adar.org.au/resources/agm-2007 a case study of tort liability for fire damage / Abstract. Gardner v. the Northern Territory is a rare example of a person suing fire authorities in negligence for their failure to protect his property from bushfire. This article looks at the allegations that were raised and why the Northern Territory Court of Appeal found there was no negligence by the Northern Territory or its firefighting authorities. The conclusion is that courts, when dealing with the emergency services and the response to unpredictable phenomena such as fire, are willing to try and understand the realities that decision makers face and take into account the complex context in which those decisions must be made. This court must be careful not to impose unreasonable expectations and unreasonable duties, which are based more on hindsight and a lack of appreciation of the practicalities and difficulties that exist than a realistic assessment of the care which a reasonably prudent person would exercise in these circumstances. Gardner, 2004, 70. Gardner v. the Northern Territory is a rare case indeed, as it is an example of a person suing fire authorities in negligence for their failure to protect his property from bushfire. The decision in this case gives a reassuring message for government authorities, fire services, and firefighters everywhere. The Northern Territory Supreme Court and then the Northern Territory Court of Appeal found that there had been no negligence by either the Conservation Land Corporation, the Parks and Wildlife Commission, or the Bushfires Council. The High Court of Australia refused to hear a further appeal. Gardner, 2005. Negligence, duty of care and loss, legal aid, Queensland. Skip to main content. Ready. Civil law legal aid scheme, legal aid, Queensland. Skip to main content.
Oh, this one cuts it. Bad.
Government negligence examples. Google search. Melbourne Law School. https://law.onamog.edu.au. Government liability in negligence. The tort reform legislation of most Australian jurisdictions includes provisions directed specifically at protecting government defendants from civil liability. Legal aid, Queensland. https://www.legal.qld.gov.au. Negligence, duty of care and loss, legal aid, Queensland. Melbourne Law School. https://law.onamog.edu.au. Misfeasance in public office, a very peculiar tort. Misfeasance tort feasors must at the very least have been recklessly indifferent.
Noble. Going here.
Nothing matters more than creating a safe and secure future for our family. So we got real
Noble. No.
life insurance to protect us financially.
Oh, will I get in trouble if I do it? I don't care. You knew it. You know it. I don't care.
Better than any two-party vote that we've seen, I think, since Chifley in wartime or post-wartime. Now, their primary vote isn't anywhere what it used to be, but it has come back from the last election. And with this commanding majority they'll have in the Parliament, David, what do they do with it? How do they?
This is like what they're gonna talk about, and they have to be talked about, and it's live and it's talked about. Reaction to the video. I'm trying to see what it was all about. In reaction, nothing much. Not only talking about it. I don't think it's much. Playful, please. Reply, listen and reply. Do all the good things. I'm into my sector, YouTube channel. I do reaction and other things. Spanish and English. Hello, how are you? How is this? Yeah? Question, please.
How do they spend this political capital they now have?
I think one of the challenges here is that they've got a clear. They were clear about that. They were clear about that again and again and again when asked about those kinds of things. Now, the majority is big enough for them to feel quite confident about the subsequent election. So the next term could be the kind of term where you see them laying out some markers about what they might want to do, but they would have to take that to the people in 2028.
I think there's still a danger, though, that they don't learn from the lessons of what went wrong in that first term. And it is an incredible opportunity to have a new chapter and to really, start anew in terms of how they run the government and the sort of level of ambition. But I think that, you have to be honest and say that there were some things that they got lucky with as well. They got incredibly lucky with Peter Dutton, who, you have to say after this election result was clearly unelectable.
In terms of Labor, just sticking with them, Jacob, they have a mandate, they have a big majority, they have political capital, but, as David says, nor do they want to start doing things that they didn't talk about at the election. This is the conundrum. How far do they go? Will we see a similar approach that we've witnessed in the first term?
I think you're going to see a lot more confidence in their approach. They won't be sort of finding their way, which I think we saw in the first term. Tim Fischer, the late National Party leader, I remember him telling me a long time ago, the pinnacle in the Westminster system is the second term. You've consolidated, you know what you're doing, so that's the big opportunity for Labor, and there are huge challenges coming, whether they're geopolitical, whether they're economic. And they now have a team, they've got a broad base, they've got an opportunity to seize it. And I'm sure that's what voters were also leaning into last night.
They can probably deal with events in a more confident way simply because this is such a big mandate and a vote of confidence in them.
And we know some of these events, though. There's a looming trade war, but here we've got a budget problem that needs to be addressed at some point. Can they now be bolder in addressing those issues?
They should be. They've got the majority to confront some of these major challenges: low productivity, budget deficits, more needed on economic growth. That economic agenda is vital, and they should be able to get on with it. But they cannot shock the Australian people with radical measures.
And I think it's also fair to say, though, that Anthony Albanese has been underestimated.
Yeah.
And the better comparison is really with John Howard, who had a terrible first term, way worse than this government.
But he did take the big GST package to that
totally
election.
But, I think it is fair to say that Anthony Albanese has been underestimated.
I mean, the funny thing is governments usually have the big mandate at the beginning when they knock off the other side.
Then they go backwards.
Then they go backwards. That's always been the case, and this is really unusual. So they've got a gift, they've earned it,
right.
and they've got a gift.
You don't see this second term with a big majority. Just on the politics of the map, what we saw last night, I thought just for Labor, and we will come to the Liberals, but for Labor, apart from Andrew Wilkie's seat, clean sweep of Tasmania and big inroads back into Queensland, where they've struggled for several elections. I just want to make this point. Annika Wells was the only female Labor MP from Queensland. Now, there are 7 of them. I understand she was told by the Prime Minister to get out there and hit these seats where they were running female candidates and run something like a teal message, if you like. And 6 women have won for Labor in southeast Queensland.
And work from home was a big part of it.
Probably helped too.
Yeah.
The other thing in Queensland is that Labor has done the best since 2007. An ally of Kevin Rudd, Anthony Albanese, has swept them back in some of those seats. And some of those seats, like Bonner in Brisbane, maybe should have been Labor seats all along if you look at the demographics, but Labor were just shut out of those Queensland seats for so long. So it's a major result for them, and a lot of work went into finding the candidates, although in Petrie, where they're ahead, the candidate was only found 6 weeks ago. So it wasn't just about the candidates. It was about this message that resonated with Queenslanders, and amazing that state turned against the Liberal leader from Queensland.
Yeah, there's definitely an element of a citizen's arrest in this situation for an electorate that has backed Peter Dutton for 20 years to turn around when he has a chance of becoming a Prime Minister and saying, no, we're not going to have that.
Yeah.
It's pretty interesting.
Well, time to talk to a prominent Queenslander. The Treasurer, Jim Chalmers, is backing up after joining us on the election coverage in this room last night. And after a few hours' sleep, he's back.
Alla korta katset. Reunut the lipo, bro.
Path to victory was more than difficult, and today Ailey France has cemented her spot in Labor folklore, becoming the first person to oust an opposition leader from their seat, driven by personal tragedy to claim her place in Parliament.
A celebration for the ages. Ailey France, the new member for Dixon.
Well, after 7 years of hard work, it feels pretty good.
A big battle booting Peter Dutton out of the seat he held for nearly 2.5 decades. Dedicating the emphatic win to her son Henry, who lost his battle with leukemia last year at age 19.
Every time it felt hard or too much, I thought of you. I carried that courage with me throughout this campaign.
She's a great daughter, she's a great lady, and she'll be a great politician.
Today, still soaking in the celebrations on what has been an emotional journey.
He was with me every single day, so I think I've made him proud.
An accomplished woman, a former journalist and para-athlete, Ailey France, now the first woman in the lower house with a disability.
She's going to blaze a trail for so many other disabled people to follow her.
I got involved in politics because of my own personal experience, cost of healthcare, but also what was happening in the NDIS.
Her leg amputated in 2011 after she was hit by a car while shopping with her toddler son. Overcoming both personal and political challenges, it hasn't been an easy fight for Ailey France. Peter Dutton managed to hold on to the marginal seat for 24 years, and it took 3 election attempts to change that. A sweeping victory not only in this seat,
the winds have changed, that's right,
but across the Sunshine State.
Not Labor's candidate anymore. I am the future member for Brisbane.
We have gone from 1 woman in the House to 7 women in the House. We now have enough for an entire netball team.
A long-time LNP seat, now the jewel in Labor's election crown. Claudia Radoljak, 9 News.
Okay. Opa.
Her path to victory was more than difficult, and today Ailey France.
Calm down, please. Come in Australia. What? Oh, the news. Put news on it because I love it. I love you. I love you. I love you. I love you. I love you too. Oh, yeah. I love you 3. I love you 4. I love you 5. I love you 7 times. Me love you long time. Me, I love you 2. I love you 3. I love you. Wow. I love I love you. I love you. I love you. Victory. Does he win? Doesn't.
Thank you, friends. Thank you all. Thank you for believing in the campaign across the country. Our hard-working candidates, the thousands of Labor volunteers in every years. the positive program we took to... Thank you for believing in Labor. Thank you for believing in the power of this great nation. The power in our 26 million people from more than 300 ancestries. And from the oldest continuing civilization on the planet.
Real, they won. They won. I thought it was the bald-headed guy, Button. It wasn't him. You tricked me. You tricked me. What are you doing, brah? Gotta let it go. There's a lot to do with the army force, because China might create some scare tactics, or China might do with America on the bomb with Yemen, Iraq, Afghanistan. We are helping out in tsunamis, earthquakes. We are helping out in many things. We love you. More like the food we eat, the way we talk, the way we move, the way we do. India, your face. Get India in your face. We are who we are, and we are what we can. We are me. I am myself. I am who I am. I am.
Owners, friends, we love this country. We love this country, and representing it to the world is the honour of my life. Because of who we are and what we strive to be. A nation that stands on its own 2 feet, that invests in the aspirations of all of its people, and a nation of courage and of kindness. I saw this purpose and these principles in our campaign across the country. Our hard-working candidates, the thousands of Labor volunteers in every state and territory, in every community, working for a better future. Friends, 3 years ago, the Australian people made a collective decision to turn the page and write a new future for ourselves. Tonight, together, we start the new chapter. And we will write this next chapter so all Australians are part of our nation's story. No matter age or gender, no matter the lottery of birth, Australia's opportunity is for us all. And friends, that Australian story is embodied by our Australian Prime Minister, a man who shows what real strength is, a man of courage, a man of compassion, a leader with the conviction of who we are and what we can be, a leader with a conviction that builds Australia's future. Friends, some might want to mimic the worst of other countries. Backs what's best about our country. Please welcome my dear friend.
my fellow Australians, serving as your Prime Minister is the greatest honour of my life. And it is with a deep sense of humility and a profound sense of responsibility that the first thing that I do tonight is to say thank you to the people of Australia for the chance to continue to serve the best nation on earth. And I acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which we live. And I pay my respects to elders, past, present and emerging, today and every day. Today, the Australian people have voted for Australian values. For fairness, aspiration and opportunity for all. For the strength to show courage in adversity and kindness to those in need. And Australians have voted for a future that holds true to these values. A future built on everything that brings us together as Australians and everything that sets our nation apart from the world. In this time of global uncertainty, Australians have chosen optimism and determination. Australians have chosen to face global challenges the Australian way, looking after each other while building for the future. And to serve these values, meet these challenges, seize these opportunities and build that better and stronger future, Australians have chosen a majority Labor government. A majority Labor government promised and delivered. A short time ago, I spoke with Peter Dutton, who has, of course, conceded defeat. And I thanked him. No. What we do in Australia is we treat people with respect. I thank Peter for his generous words at the end of what has been a very hard-fought campaign. And I want to take this opportunity to wish Peter and Kiralee and their family all the very best for their future. Now, at election time, parties and candidates ask people to make a choice. And inevitably, the campaign and the coverage is about our differences and our disagreements. That is the nature of our democracy, and it is the role of the media who serve it. But now that the Australian people have made their clear choice, let us all reflect on what we have in common. Because no matter who you voted for, no matter where you live, no matter how you worship or who you love, whether you belong to a culture that has known and cared for this great continent for 65,000 years, or you have chosen our nation as your home and enriched our society with your contribution, we are all Australians. to build our national unity on the enduring foundations of fairness, equality and respect for one another. My fellow Australians, I know the world has thrown a lot at our country over the past 3 years. I know so many of you have worked hard in the face of significant challenges, and I know there's still much more to do to help people under pressure. That is why it means so much that in these uncertain times, the people of Australia have placed their trust in Labor once again, including so many Australians who had voted Labor for the first time. I make this solemn pledge. We will not forget that. We will never take it for granted. Repaying your trust will drive our government each and every day of the next 3 years. The positive program we took to this election was shaped by the Australian people's priorities, and our government will dedicate the next 3 years to making a positive difference to your lives and to your future, bringing the rewards for your hard work within reach, investing in our youngest Australians, looking after older Australians, and building an economy and a society that is every bit as strong and fair, as resilient and generous as Australians are themselves. From tomorrow, back at work. Maybe not everyone here. And that's probably for the best. We take up this task with new hope, new confidence and new determination. Because this card
Let's do the card. Let's do the card, boy. Let's do the card, boy. Every school, right?
everyone who counts on the National Disability Insurance Scheme. We will be a government for every Australian who wants to train or retrain for new skills and a good job at public TAFE. Every Australian who works hard for the life-changing opportunity of higher education and wants 20% cut for their student debt. Every Australian who knows that climate change is a challenge we must act together to meet for the future of our environment. And knows the fact that renewable energy is an opportunity we must work together to seize for the future of our economy. We will be a government that supports reconciliation with First Nations people, because we will be a stronger nation when we close the gap between Indigenous and non-Indigenous Australians. And friends, we will be a government that relies and helps every Australian who relies on Medicare. Because this card is not Labor red or Liberal blue, it is green and gold. make it stronger for all Australians. Friends, I stand here tonight as the proud leader of an extraordinary team. I stood on the hallowed turf of the G this morning, doing live crosses, making that point. I want to thank all of my colleagues, beginning with my friend, our incredible Deputy Prime Minister, Richard Marles. No one could hope for a better deputy, and I thank him so much. My friend and our Senate leader, Penny Wong, her deputy, Don Farrell. Our economic team led by Jim Chalmers and Katie Gallagher. Our campaign spokesperson, Jason Clare. And we've got a bit of a shared party tonight. Berkey's here, the member for Watson. Amazing Labor caucus, which when you look at it across the benches, it's representative of the Australian people.
In the pantheon of Labor Prime Ministers, Anthony Albanese cements his place. Re-elected in a ringing endorsement of centrist politics.
Australians have chosen a majority Labor government.
Australians chose stability and predictability after a 5-week campaign that demolished Peter Dutton.
And I acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which we meet.
And delivered Labor a powerful mandate.
This card is not Labor red or Liberal blue, it is green and gold.
Serving up lemon sorbet in his seat on Sunday morning.
Is victory sweet, Prime Minister?
Well, it's satisfying, but also very, very humbling.
The Prime Minister savoured this moment and spared another for his vanquished opponent.
I feel for Peter Dutton. He was generous in his comments, and it would have been a tough night for Peter.
The opposition leader, the highest profile casualty of the night, toppled in Dixon by a third-time challenger.
We all woke up to a big red wave, and I couldn't be happier about that.
That red wave crashed over Queensland.
The Magnificent Seven. The 7 new federal members of Parliament coming from Queensland.
Ending the coalition's stranglehold on the state.
We didn't do well enough during this campaign. That much is obvious tonight, and I accept full responsibility for that.
Labor gains were made at the expense of the Greens too. At least 2 of its seats in the Sunshine State fell. Down in Melbourne, Greens leader Adam Bandt's own seat still too close to call.
He may get back by the skin of his teeth, but he'll be leading a much reduced team in the House.
From the moment counting began, it was clear a swing to Labor was on. A record number of early votes demanded early caution.
And let's wait till pre-poll comes in.
But seats started to tumble in every state. At least 1 in Victoria, 2 in Tasmania and 3 in New South Wales.
It is bad news everywhere for them.
And soon, Labor's red wall extended from coast to coast.
This could be a big win for Labor, but it's certainly a win.
It was big. The Albanese government increased its majority, improved its primary vote, and now commands more than a 30-seat lead over the coalition.
The fact that we're in this position at 8:30 on election night is a tribute to Anthony Albanese.
And supporters showed him their appreciation. On a history-making night, tears and Albanese-branded beers flowed. The party was on track for a victory, but no one predicted the scale.
We take up this task with new hope, new confidence and new determination.
Anthony Albanese has written himself into the history books, winning a second term as Prime Minister and increasing Labor's majority in the process. It's a stunning turnaround for a government that began the year behind in the opinion polls. But this landslide victory, even bigger than Kevin Rudd's, not only secures Labor a second term, but sets it up for a third term too. Jane Norman, ABC News, Sydney.
There was no track to get back on. Only a forsaken leader at the dead end of his career.
Our Liberal family is hurting across the country tonight, but including in my electorate of Dickson.
In a darkened, despondent room with a broken party.
And there are good members, good candidates who have lost their seats or their ambition, and I'm sorry for that.
As Peter Dutton shuffled from public life, a predecessor attempted to keep flicker in the flame.
If the coalition can create a clear contest, we can certainly be competitive.
Except Liberal contestants were dropping far and wide. In the once treasured Adelaide stronghold of Sturt, James Stephens copped a hiding.
I'm a bit emotional.
Across the strait, Bridget Archer's vote sank, and with Bass gone, the neighbouring seat of Braddon went too. Ballot by ballot, the entire island state went red. In cities on the mainland, the blue tide ebbed right out. Peter Dutton's Dickson, nearby Petrie, Ford and Bonner went in southeast Queensland. In Sydney, the southern seats of Banks and Hughes turned red, and across Greater Melbourne, Deakin and Menzies added to the losses of 3 years ago.
It was clear that our party has an issue in urban Australia.
Keith Wallahan's out after just one term, convinced a party that grew out of suburban Middle Australia needs to go back there to connect to lost generations.
We need to turn our mind to that like we have never done before. We need to really dig deep and think about who we are and who we fight for and who makes up Australia.
When the 48th Parliament opens, the depth of the coalition's plunge then becomes clearer. If Liberal national seats combined fall below 40, as currently seems likely, they'll occupy the smallest space this side of the Speaker since 1949, even lower than when Bob Hawke crushed them to 50 4 decades ago. This will be their desolation row. The barren benches, a constant reminder of the enormity of what just happened. For now, anxieties over the nuclear power policy run high, as with the unpersuasive fuel excise offer, the public service job slashing and more. The leaders left the room, and so much more behind him. Greg Jennett, ABC News, Canberra.
This was a Labor win for the ages. Anthony Albanese now has far greater authority as Prime Minister. His cabinet colleagues are publicly hailing him a hero and privately praising his instincts on policy, politics and strategy. The question is, how will this political capital now be used? The answer? Carefully. Labor will proceed with its plans on health, housing and childcare. The renewable energy transition will continue. The Treasurer says boosting productivity will be his top priority in a second term. But there'll be no radical change, no going beyond the mandate of the people. On the other side, radical change is exactly what's required. Finding a new leader is only the first step for the humiliated Liberal Party. Susan Lee, Angus Taylor and Dan Tehan are all talking to colleagues and weighing their options. The more difficult question, what does the party stand for? Nuclear power, lower immigration, more moderate, more conservative, more Trumpian, less? Younger voters and women continue to desert the Liberals. They need to find a way to reconnect. Difficult decisions were avoided after the election defeat 3 years ago.
Have to
The
go
party's
now.
problems have only worsened since then.
Have to go now. Thank you. That's all I got. And hopefully watched it.